Welcome to RayPresents. Today I have the honor of welcoming a special guest, a very special guest, someone I had the pleasure of knowing since our high school days at De La Salle. Dantes Rameau, how are you, sir?
Ray, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for the invitation to be on your show, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. It's been years. You know, you're a visionary. You're a beacon of change in the world of music, education. You're the co-founder of the Atlanta Music Project, AMP, and you've dedicated yourself to transforming lives through the power of music. So tell me about AMP, and from your high school days to what you're doing now. Tell me, how it evolved, and basically what I've missed since our high school days. I
In
won't
20
name the
years,
year, but people can imagine with the little white hair,
yeah.
it's been a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I was born and raised in Ottawa, and we were very fortunate. The schools that we went to, the public schools we went to, had strong music programs.
Yes.
And you and I both got to go to École Secondaire Publique de la Salle, which is a regular high school, but it also had a really intensive arts program. And as part of that arts program, I auditioned for the music program, and I played saxophone when I auditioned to get into the program. And then about halfway through high school, I had done an end of year performance exam where they kind of judge you when you're playing, and they said, okay, you did really well. Would you consider also playing the bassoon? I'd
Hmm.
never I'd never heard of the bassoon at that time. This was like 10th grade, and so I ended up being open to it, and I started taking lessons on the bassoon in 11th grade,
Oh, is
and
that right? Huh?
they offered me, a bassoon teacher, and because I was the only bassoonist in the school at the time, they right away put me in the orchestra and
Wow.
the symphony orchestra. And the first thing I played was Beethoven's Second Symphony.
The
And so
first
for
thing.
those, the first thing, so for those who don't know, a Beethoven symphony is like the one of the, the pinnacle of the symphony orchestra repertoire. It's a piece that you'll see professional orchestras perform all the time. And I just got thrown in there. And I was a hard worker, fast learner. I was a little talented, I suppose. But, I remember just playing that music and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And so, but still, I wasn't looking to pursue it necessarily as a career at that time. But eventually, I spoke to our conductor who thought I was coming along really well. And he asked me one day, I think it was in 12th grade, hey, have you ever thought about pursuing the bassoon as a professional? And I said, I really like it and I've thought about it, but you can't really make any money doing it, right? So how does that work? And he said, well, I have a friend who is the associate principal bassoon of the Montreal Symphony. His name is
Wow.
Mathieu. He's from Quebec. And he said, his salary at the time, which is like public, it's not a secret, but
Okay.
at the time, this is, many years ago, this guy's salary was like $65,000 a year, and he was
Mhm.
24 playing the bassoon for a living in Montreal.
Mhm.
So that all clicked with me, and I said, "Oh, well, this is something that, in that case, maybe I can, maybe I can, see, see what I can do." So I ended up going to McGill University in Montreal, where this gentleman, Mathieu, happened to be one of the bassoon teachers. So I studied with him for 2 years, and then I switched for my third and fourth year to the first bassoon, the principal bassoon of the symphony, Stéphane Lévesque. And it ended up that Stéphane had gone to graduate school at Yale, the Yale School of Music in Connecticut, which is it's a graduate school of Yale University. And so when my time was done at McGill, I auditioned for graduate schools in the U.S. and I ended up getting accepted to the Yale School of Music on a full ride, pretty much. And
Mhm.
so that's how I got to the U.S. And while I was here, while I was at Yale pursuing my master of music in bassoon performance, I got to do a little side gig teaching music in the New Haven, Connecticut public schools. Well, New Haven is the town where Yale is located.
Okay.
And that's where I got my real first experience, not only at teaching bassoon and teaching middle school kids in a classroom setting, but also I got to experience the sort of the societal inequalities that are present in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to an Ivy League university with a beautiful campus, well manicured, but just outside the campus, there were working class neighborhoods. And I was teaching the kids that were from these neighborhoods. They were, at the time, the kids I was teaching were all Black and Latino. And so I loved the work. Um, I reflected on the experience I had growing up in Ottawa, and basically I had all this access to great instruction in music, great opportunities to perform, great mentors, great teachers. And so I felt like I was paying it forward a little bit, giving back
Giving
for what
back.
I had received.
Yeah.
And I ended up really falling in love with that work because I could see myself, ourselves in the students I was reaching. So after Yale, I promised myself that I would pursue a performance career, but combine it with education and community outreach because
Okay.
I felt like both, all those things through music were what made me come alive, as an artist. So I did a couple more years of school at Carnegie Mellon University, pursuing bassoon still in Pittsburgh. That was fun. They won the Super Bowl when I was there. That was pretty cool. And
Wow.
then and then I ended up going to Boston for one last year of graduate school, and that's when I learned about nonprofit management. And I took a year to really learn the stuff I hadn't learned as a music major. I went back to Excel and finance and grant writing, fundraising, how to build an organization. I got really good training on that at the
Mm-hmm.
New England Conservatory, which is a music school in Boston. They were training musicians to run nonprofits, to go into the communities and do youth orchestras, youth music programs. I also got to go to Venezuela at that time because Venezuela has a really famous youth music program, which it's referred to as El Sistema. They serve hundreds of thousands of kids each year through after school music programs, and it's all government funded. So I got to go down there and really look at what they're doing, perform, teach. And I came back to this 1 year program in Boston fired up.
Of
And they said
course.
to us at the end of this year, you guys have a 1 year commitment, one additional year commitment in the field. 1 year you learn, second year you go in the field and you have to do something related to what we worked on this year. So a lot of the fellows, there were 10 of us in my class, they were getting hired to, work at different organizations. And we could also, if we wanted to, try to start something. And for me, it was really clear. Like there was no way, given my experience growing up in Ottawa, going to Yale, Montreal, and going to Venezuela and seeing what was possible, there was no way I was going to go work for somebody else. I knew that I wanted to start something. I knew that I had the ability, the right combination of characteristics to lead an organization. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like one, I'm a good musician. I was well trained. I can
Yeah.
play. I was a really good teacher, and also um, I was really good at person to person relationships, and that's really key in my line of work. You have to be able to convince people, corporations, foundations, community partners to work with you and support you, both financially, but also uh, credibility wise. So I'm good at all three of those, and I happen to be Black, and I also wanted to work, if possible, given my experience in New Haven at Yale. I wanted to work with Black kids in a Black community if I could. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the U.S., all things Black lead to Atlanta eventually, and so I had an uncle and an aunt that retired from New York City, Haitian, of course, and they retired in Atlanta. So I had a little place to stay, and I was introduced by a colleague of mine to the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, and they introduced me to the City of Atlanta recreation centers, and they introduced me to the Coca-Cola Foundation for the money, and it was a lot of hustle. Like I didn't get a paycheck for a long time, um, and I had to live, with my family, far away from the downtown Atlanta where my work was. But eventually, we launched the program in the fall of 2010, and we provided free instruments and professional musicians to teach kids in their neighborhood recreation center 5 days a week for 2 hours a day. They were all elementary school kids, and we had a mission to empower youth to realize their possibilities through music. It wasn't necessarily to create the next great musician, but just to give kids a chance to push and see how far they can go if they get really good at something that's really hard. Playing a music instrument is not easy. If you have kids and you may have heard them pluck a few of their first notes on the violin or the piano, it's not it. It's not pretty from the beginning. So yeah, playing an instrument takes a lot of work. And so not only is it fun to play music with your friends, but you learn a lot about yourself and how far you can go when you practice and that kind of thing. So that was the first year. That was in 2010. Fast forward to today, uh, we have 800 kids that we're serving.
Wow.
Um, we have a budget that's just over $3 million annually, and we have 75 professional musicians that teach our students. We have our own building in Southwest Atlanta called the Atlanta Music Project Center for Performance and Education. And we're still offering everything tuition free. And we serve kids from kindergarten all the way up through college. And we even offer college counseling, we offer college scholarships. And it really is a testament to the power of music and to the power of the community supporting kids that want to, what's best for themselves. It's hard to turn down, to look away from a child that's doing everything they can to go out and get what they want, go out and get their goals. It's really inspiring. And so we've been fortunate to get some support like that.
Wow, what a journey. That's amazing. You broke it down. Now I I can see all of
That was
the
that
journey
was the Cliff Notes. That was the Cliff
that
Notes.
I love it. And congratulations from all these accomplishments. You spoke about, the mission of empowering kids. Can you, from your perspective, what role does music education play in the broader landscape of youth development, and community building?
Oh, I think it's invaluable. Um, the thing about the arts and music and sports, right? Sports, and I played, I played sports growing up. The thing is, with sports, if you're not big enough, fast enough, or tall enough, you're not going to be able to go very far in sports. It's just that's the reality, unfortunately. Especially when the sports that are big in North America, hockey, basketball, football. These are sports that size matters. Um, but music and the arts, you don't need to be anything. You need to be able to commit to practicing. If you have, you're missing an arm, you play an instrument that requires one hand. If you can't walk, you're in a wheelchair, you can sing, you can play the piano. Like there's really very few limits to access for music. The problem is that it costs a lot of money. You have to buy the
Yeah,
instrument. You have to
instruments.
pay yeah, you got to pay the teacher every week for your lessons. You have to have a stable area, constant area in your home to practice quiet so you
Yeah,
can focus.
yeah,
And all of these barriers mount to making it so that really high quality music is not available to all kids, depending on their family situation or where they live. But on the flip side, if you can give access to music to the youth, well, what do you have? First, you have a kid who's now able to focus their energy and their attention on something that's productive, something that right away is giving them positive reinforcement, positive feedback. Because you play the note, you get feedback. Oh, that's not very good. Okay, what do I do to fix this note to make it better? So every day you're learning to be better by listening to what you're producing as a musician. And then you have the concerts. So when the concerts happen, the family comes to the concert, so it creates community. And that child, instead of being any old kid on in the community, is now looked at as an inspiration in the community. So now he's got or she has friends that are joining the program, also wanting to do music.
hmm
And so and then the community expands because now we're performing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the Atlanta United soccer team for the national anthem. And now we're performing, um, at the Woodruff Arts Center. And now we're performing here and performing there. And so it really grows. And so just from one kid, giving one kid an instrument and inspiring that kid, it inspires that kid's parents to support their child in their musical pursuits. I got to get them to their lesson. I have to make sure that they practice this week. I got to make sure that their instrument is ready to go. You know, as a parent, it inspires a parent, and then from there, the community. So it's really important. It's really important, and we see the benefits of music for students, even if they're not going to pursue music as a profession. It looks great on your college application. Oftentimes in the US, you can go to school for a non-music major, but you can get paid to play in the marching band or play in the concert band or play in the orchestra. You can make money teaching music while you're in college. Would you rather work for $15 an hour, or would you rather work for 50 or $60 an hour teaching music? And so it has these amazing benefits. And then of course the social. You know,
Hmm.
you've got all these lifelong friends that you make through these wonderful experiences, which you can get through sports and through other arts. I just happen to advocate for music, but I was able to get the same social benefits, the friends and the experiences through uh, basketball as I was through music, and I'm still getting through music.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So tell me what looking to the future. How do you envision the growth of AMP? And what new goals you set on achieving? And are there new community or programs you're particularly excited about exploring?
Yeah, for one thing, we have a beautiful building. For the first 10 years of the organization, we didn't have a building. We had office space,
Yeah.
and we did our programs in the schools or the recreation centers. We
Hmm.
still do the programs in the recreation centers in some schools, but the real difference maker was in year 10 when we were able to open up our own headquarters where we had a small performance hall, classrooms, rehearsal rooms, offices, and so we could all, be in one place. And we had a visible building with a sign on the top that said Atlanta Music Project. And so we were, thrilled to open that building. It was a building in the community that was boarded up. It wasn't being used. And so
Hmm.
we brought this commercial space back to life. And I think
Life.
that helps the neighborhood, of course. The problem is now we run out of space, and so
Yeah.
it's the growth of the organization and the amount of kids that we serve. Now, we're missing desks for our staff. We're missing classrooms for our classes, and we can't do our
Mm.
concerts in the building because it won't fit. There's not enough room for an audience and an orchestra or a choir.
Yeah.
So one of our goals is looking at, what are we going to do for space in the future? And we have a vision to hopefully develop uh, as a campus that's big enough to support our performing ambitions, our educational ambitions, and also that's very um, practical for our staff and for our faculty. Like I said, we have about 75 teachers that teach with us part time, and they're all professional musicians. And also, our staff is up to 18 full time staff right now, and so that's only going to grow. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to
Yeah.
be discovering, how we can accommodate the growth and the demand for our services. As far as programming activities, I'm really excited because for a long time we performed in Atlanta, and we performed so much that all the big performance venues we've performed in, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the Atlanta Falcons play football,
Check.
yeah, done. The Woodruff Arts Center where the Atlanta Symphony plays, done. Um, the or the Fox Theater where all the Broadway shows come, done. So all the big venues we've done. And so our kids, when we used to tell them, hey, we're going to go perform at this place, that place, they'd be, oh, cool. Now we tell them, well, we're going to go perform here. So, well, we did that already, and why don't we go and perform outside of Atlanta?
Hmm.
So I was like, well, that's a good idea, but that costs money. And so, but I always remembered that request from our kids. They wanted bigger, and this is exactly the empowerment part of the mission. We gave them an instrument. They got so good at it that now they're seeing themselves performing outside of their own
Outside.
home city. That's exactly the benefit of, being good at something that's healthy. It's good for you, and so it makes you think beyond what you see in front of you every day, and it helps you to dream. If you can dream it, maybe there's a chance you can make it happen. So this
Hmm.
past summer, we got really lucky. We got a donation from an anonymous donor
Wow.
that gave us $3.5 million. And what was really interesting is that they this donor asked us, how do you want to use the money? And I said, well, we want to be able to do travel, touring and traveling internationally every year. That's what our students have requested. And what we can do is, if we can put a bunch of that money into an endowment, we can just use the proceeds from the interest that the endowment generates every year, and we can use that money to pay for overseas travel and touring. And so they said yes, that sounds good to us. And so now we have the funding to be able to travel. And so I don't know if you want me to talk about the travel now, or if you want to wait till later.
Yes, let's break it down. Let's break it down, please.
So yeah, so this year we're traveling. For those who don't know, the Atlanta Music Project has three divisions. So we have a choir program,
Uh-huh.
we have a symphony orchestra program,
Okay.
and we have a band program. And so at the top level, we have the senior and youth choir, which is mostly 10th, 11th, 12th graders, high
Okay.
ability. And we have the senior youth orchestra, which is also high school youth orchestra. So we're traveling this year. We announced this on our 2 months ago, 3 months ago. But the youth orchestra is going to Ottawa, Canada, to go and do a joint performance with the string orchestra from l'École secondaire publique de la Salle. So
Amazing.
our alma mater. So I'm taking it back to the roots, and we're going to be traveling April 3rd to April 7th, and we have a concert scheduled for Friday, April 5th at 7 p.m. at De La Salle at the high school, and it's going to be a big, full circle moment for me, of course, kind of emotional,
Of
but
course.
our students here in Atlanta deserve this. They work so hard, they practice every day, they're committed, and this is just for them to show them, hey, you are appreciated around the world. What you do has value, and look how far you can go when you work hard. And then for the choir, they're going to New Zealand, and
Wow.
so every 2 years there's a big international competition called the World Choir Games. You think of it like
Mm-hmm.
the Olympics of choir
Of
competitions.
fire.
And
Mm-hmm.
this year it's going to be held in Auckland, New Zealand in July. And the senior choir applied. You have to apply to be able to attend and compete. We got
Mm-hmm.
accepted, and the tickets are booked. And so in July, the choir is going to go to New Zealand to compete at the World Choir Games. So this is exactly what I had envisioned for the program when I started it, because my experience was that it starts with your commitment to your craft, a love of music, a love of practicing, a love of improvement, a real passion for your craft. And if you have that passion and you are able to really critically look at the way you're playing and really improve it and work on your weaknesses every day, eventually you're gonna be providing value to the world, and in exchange for that value, you get scholarships to college, you get to travel, you get to perform abroad. And so our kids at Atlanta Music Project are getting a small sample of what's possible, and hopefully, whether or not they pursue music for their careers, they have a taste of you know hard work leads to good things.
The good things. Wow. Dantes Rameau, I want to thank you for your time. I want to congratulate you on all this amazing stuff that you're doing. This is incredible, and I'll make sure
Thank you.
I'll be there April 5th at our old high school so you can celebrate your success, your organization's success, and, listen to some great music and wonderful music that the kids will be playing. So, once again,
Hey,
thank you. I will see you very soon.
it's my pleasure, Ray, and thank you for the opportunity once again. And I look forward to being back in Ottawa and seeing you again soon.
Yes, sir. See you soon, my brother.